The last hinge we did was the pin hinge or door hinge, print in place, no supports necessary. We're gonna do the same idea here, except this is the rotational hinge or ring hinge or chain link hinge. Take your pick. We're gonna go and make one. This is the type of hinge that you might see in something like the articulated dragon, where each segment has a pretty wide range of movement from the other segments. I have made this barrel or pin hinge here, and it was a way for us to link this red block to this gray block. So we're going to take this, let's delete this. We're going to use a ring hinge or a chain link hinge to link them instead. So to get us started with this hinge, we can go to the torus. It's a torus ring. We're going to drag this out here. And let's just actually keep it the same dimensions that we have it right now. I believe it's a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter by 5 millimeter in height ring, and it's a rounded edge. This is perfect. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this up. So let's just raise it up off of this build plate here, and then using arrow keys, set the torus ring into the red block. So ultimately, it's going to connect to this block sort of like this. But the problem is that if we were to print this up, this is going to need supports. And we said that we wanted to design this in a way that you would not need supports and it would be a print in place. So similar to what we did with the other hinge, we need to put this at an angle so that this ring, as it's being printed, can gradually be printed upwards. And if we give it an angle, whether it's 45, I've actually been able to get away with 22.5 degrees. Again, it depends on your printer settings. I go with a layer height of about 0.2 millimeters. And just to quickly explain what I mean by this, so here is a screenshot from my slicer showing the difference when I print up this overhang that I angled upward by 22.5 degrees. The left is a layer height of 0.2 millimeters, and the right is showing a 0.4 millimeter layer height. The larger layer height requires each layer of filament extruded to extend further out from the previous layer. And with no supports there to catch it, this increased distance outward increases the likelihood that this overhang will fail, potentially ruining your print. Again, I just went with the first notch on Tinkercad. Obviously, you can finesse this by moving outside of that inner circle. But for me, 22.5 works. This is the first half of our hinge. Looks pretty good. For me, I'm going to sink this in a little bit more just to make it a little bit more discreet with this hinge. Try to hide it away a little bit. All right, that's the first half. Second half is this. Let's get another torus ring. And this one we are going to flip. So it's vertical. And then align the torus ring midway up the gray box along the Z axis. Looks pretty good. Now, we're going to bring this in like this. Okay, so we might need to align this because right now, if we were to print this up, this is going to fuse those two rings together. So let's bring this up a little bit more like that. Pretty good. All right, now let's bring in the other side of our hinge here, the other block or segment. Now, this is the problem. If we're trying to print this up without any need for supports, you're going to need supports here because this is going to start the bottom of this torus ring in midair as it prints it up. So we could have a couple of solutions here. We could take a piece and angle it down this way so that you would have that gradual increase and support as you are building this up from the printer bed. That could work. Or the other thing is maybe we just take away that part of the ring so that when it starts to build it out, it builds it out starting from this upward angle at the bottom. That could work too. Except there is a problem here. This ring right now, this torus ring that was tilted, is now buried inside of our block, and we can't have that. So we may have to carve out a channel. Now, in order to do this, we can do the duplicate tool. So we're going to select that tilted ring and we're going to do Control D or duplicate. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the settings here on the side. Now, if you're not familiar with these settings, these are great to know because these allow you to have really specific control over the sizing of your ring. I'm going to include a link to a video that goes into detail about the torus, the tube, and the ring, and how you can use the different settings to get the desired results that you want. But for us here, we're going to take a look at the tube size. And in fact, the tube size is set to 2.5. I'm going to increase the tube size, meaning that it's going to increase the tube size there, like this. Now, don't forget, this tube that we've just increased here is the duplicate. But what I'm going to do is, after I've increased the radius of it, I'm going to turn it into a hole. Now you can see what we've just done there is we have just created this hole there like that. I might actually need to drop this a little bit. Maybe even a little bit more. Let's change our increments here so we have a little bit better, a little more control. Just finesse it there. That looks okay. And you can see what we've done here is we're using this larger torus ring that we've just duplicated and turned into a hole, so it carves out a channel inside of this gray square here. All right, this is our hinge. So next, we're going to group these. It's going to be very important for us to group them properly here. So first of all, actually, let's just drop this down, everything down just a bit, just to make it all fit. There we go. That's better. Now we're going to group these things together, and it's important for us to get the grouping right here because this hole that we have just created is carving out a hole not only in the gray but also in the red, but we don't want it to carve into the red. And if we were to group this right now, this hole would also take away this torus ring that's solid inside. So when we group this, let's start with the gray side first. We're going to select the gray box. Press Shift, we're going to select the vertical torus ring. And while we're doing this, we're also going to press Shift again and select just the hole, the torus ring hole. And we're going to group them or Control G. Now, when we do that, you're going to see what we've just created here. This channel inside. Now, just to double check, we're going to select this gray box and we're going to make it transparent because we just want to ensure that that channel is successfully carving out that space for this tilted ring. And yeah, it is. So again, in order to see this, I just selected the object and made it transparent by pressing T. And I can press T again to make it solid. So I'm going to print this up now, and I'm going to set the settings on the slicer to have no supports. And let's see if we can actually successfully print this hinge up on our build plate. All right, so here it is, the print in place hinge, and there it is. Yep. Fantastic. And you can see no supports needed, no assembly required, and it just works. You can see it's got a wide range of movement there. You can do different variations, but using essentially the same elements. You can start to design your own ring or chain link hinge. Here's another example. Essentially, this is the same type of hinge here. It's just done in a slightly different way, but this, again, is going to allow you to print this up without the need for support, and it will be a print-in-place hinge. I had to carve out some cavities inside of this block here, and also in this block on this side as well, just to ensure that this hinge was able to move about freely. And if I were to make these both transparent, you can see that There's plenty of room in there for these hinges to move around. All right, here's the next hinge. Same idea, same basic design, just slightly different. Let's see if we got, yes we did. Print in place. No supports necessary. Looks pretty good. Once you've created this hinge and you want to make something like an articulated dragon where you have many copies of this type of hinge, it's really easy to duplicate as long as you know which parts you need to duplicate. So selecting this gray block here, and while pressing Shift, selecting the vertical torus ring and the angled torus ring, I can then duplicate it, or Control D. And then using the arrow keys or using the ruler, you can set the next segment. Once you've done that, it's just a matter of duplicating it again. And you'll notice that it will duplicate over and over and over and over again. And of course, you can go ahead and print it. And you would get something that looks like this. The ring hinge, the chain link hinge, rotational hinge, whatever. It is a print in place, no supports required, and it might just have a purpose for your designs. So until next time, take care. We'll see you later.